Hey, Steve, you're not late. You're on time. Or something like that. I think you're the only one that's on time. You're the only one that's here. How are you today? I think you were the only one that's on time, technically. I mean, I was late. I'm always like a minute or so late. Nah. Oh, that's the wife's computer. We're out of the garage. We're moved in. I got a desk area. Hey, Jake. What's going on? Andrew? Everything's going good so far. Picked up a desk pretty cheap, moved it into the office. The family desk is the wife's. She does her own stuff. She makes all my t-shirts and all the vinyls and all that stuff. Which pass-through, Steve? I know you said you got something. I think I remember reading that you had something newer that you just recently got. The good news is that TechStream is very versatile. Works with almost every pass-through. As a matter of fact, I was talking with somebody about this today. The regular MS908 Autel, the black box VCI that comes with that. If you get online and log into your Autel account and find the PC suite, you can install the drivers for that black box VCI that comes with the standard 908, not the P with the J box. You can install the drivers for that. If you then you can USB. I know it's called the Maxi Flash Bluetooth is what it's called, which is funny. It has Flash in the name. Once you install it, it recognizes as a J2534 device within your Windows registry, so it will show up as a usable communication interface with most of basically any software that will allow you to use a J2534 device for its diagnostic purposes. I have yet to have a spare module on a vehicle that I'm okay with bricking by trying to flash, trying to program with that box, because it's not. They don't advertise it as a J2534 device, but the name of the device is the Maxi Flash Bluetooth, and it does register in the Windows registry as a J2534 device. I can pull up TechStream right now, and it'll show Maxi Flash Bluetooth as an option because I've installed the drivers. So, yeah, Steve, I use it all the time with TechStream. I've used it with Vita, with GDS2. I've used it with HDS. I've used it with... I've used it with almost every OE software I can think of to do for diagnostics. I did have a problem with the parking module on a 2017 Volvo, but I've been told that even the DICE sometimes will have problems with connecting to the parking module because the Vita structure was Volvo Vita software structure was changed to accommodate other J devices, and when they did that, it caused parking module communication problems even with the factory communication device. Yeah, Steve, give it a shot, and if you get a chance to, I think what I'll do is I've got a Chevy, I got a PCM for a Equinox that's out on the bench in the garage, and the problem with it is it randomly drops 5 volt. That's why it was replaced. The 5 volt ref just to the fuel rail pressure sensor. So they replaced it. I flashed their module for them. They let me keep the old one because I got a junkyard one or something. I don't remember how it went. Anyway, it's like a 2010 Equinox. So I set it up on the bench to flash that one. I do a lot of Nissan flashing on the bench, and I attempted to start a flash with that, and then it gave me an Echo 6417 or 6414 or 6404 error, which just says off-board flashing detected, process aborted. So it recognized that there was no other modules within the network that I had built, because I'd used another dead PCM, but it had a good terminating resistor in order to complete the CAN circuit. And I set that all up to flash, and it recognized there was no other modules on the network, so it wouldn't let me flash. It knew that I was doing it off the car. It said off-board programming recognized, process aborted. So there's an error code and a known they don't want you to off-board program. So I've got to get just another GM module like a BCM or something and put it in the network so it'll see 2, and I think I should be fine then. But I was going to attempt to flash with that Bluetooth. I just haven't got a chance to. So, Gaston, it's going good. I've got customers, I got shops, I got 2 stuff on the schedule for tomorrow already. Tomorrow I've got to go complete a job. Friday, I diagnosed a car with a short. I guess it's kind of a short. I was called out because the cluster and the HVAC doesn't work on a 2009 Impala or Malibu? Impala. And I found that the display fuse, 10 amp fuse in the underhood fuse box was missing. Went and talked to the shop, asked them if they pulled it. They said, oh yeah, my guy said that fuse keeps popping, it's a short. I said, okay, so that actually goes to Splice Pack JX273, which is the interior power splice pack. It looks like a network splice pack, and it's got 5 pink wires, one input from the fuse box. That's your B+, terminal 30, whatever you want to call it. Hey, Neil. Oh, hey, Steve. Outside tent displays, how the new toys. Oh, I must be talking to Steve. Anyways, it's got 1 B+ in from the display / airbag fuse that goes to the other 4 pins, which are ignition on power. And then there's another set of 5 pins just parallel to it that are red with a white stripe on that contact, and it's the supply from that fuse to 4 other devices, which is the HVAC control module, the IPC, the remote door lock control receiver, and then the DLC. That's what the DLC power comes from. So basically what I did was I took there's a comb in it, just like a network comb. I pulled the comb out, and I kind of did like the little video I did where I did a class 2 diagnosis. I actually put a fuse in the spot with everything disconnected, and and the fuse stayed on, didn't pop immediately like before. I could put a fuse in and immediately pop because it was dead short. So I had the comb out and said, okay, well, obviously it's not from the circuit from here to the fuse, so I can rule out everything under the hood. So I took my little U-isolate tool from AESWave that was all, my spider web of contacts, put it into the first one that was a B+ supply. I just poked each one until I found on my Uscope the power supply. Stuck that in and just started adding those circuits back until the voltage dropped, and then I know that was the circuit that dropped the fuse. So then I basically went back out, changed the fuse, avoided that pin, and stuck all the other ones back on, so connected them all back, except for the one, and said, okay, so my circuit, my short's somewhere in this wire. The problem with that JX273 splice is that even in service information, it says that pin out location and supply varies. So really at the factory, they just had to take those red and white wires and put them in any order they felt like. So although they were lettered A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. Hey, Carson. They did not. Oh, hey, Drews. They're not labeled what's what. So basically, I just turned the car on and started it and recognized that everything worked but the cluster. So it was in the cluster, so I actually got the cluster out, unplugged it, checked the circuit, and the circuit was fine. So I was like, okay. So I went ahead and added it back to the network. Nothing happened. As soon as I plugged the cluster in, popped the fuse. So I did a couple more circuit checks there on the ground, make sure it had a good solid ground to it, to that plug-in. Everything was good. So it needs a cluster. Monday they're getting me a cluster. So tomorrow they should be getting a cluster. So they're going to call me tomorrow. I can come back out. I'm going to install the cluster, flash the cluster, and then re-put the panels back together that I took off for them. That was kind of part of my thing. So just going to get them all set up and get them all taken care of. So it's going to be a good ticket. It'll be because the Diag and the module programming all together. So I think that total charge is about $260 US dollars for that entire process. That includes me pulling the cluster out and putting the cluster in. I did all that for him just because as part of my diagnosis, I had to pull the cluster to prove. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about 11 minutes in of me telling you a story. Oh, we got to start off right. So we got to start off with a glass of the black stuff. All right. And we get in the Christmas spirit. There we go. So that'll make for a great, a good. I'll put that as like the thumbnail for the video. This right here. Excuse me. So I've been asked to do that. Someone asked if I could chug a whole glass of that, and that is no problem. I am on the United States of America drinking team. So, hey, Michael. Anyways, I'm sure I'll get a message about that too. Should I get? What do you think, guys? Should I go white? Should I go white with the beard? Thanks, Turtles. I had like 4 private messages that were like, "Can you chug one of those?" I'm like, "Absolutely. This is Guinness. It's delicious. It's the most delicious drink that's ever been poured into any glass anywhere." Anyways, so I thought I'd stop and talk a few minutes about programming software. Since I'm already kind of into this, let me look here. Oh yeah, we're into it 11 minutes. We're in the thick of it, boys. Where are we at? All right. So I was selling the hard drives. Those are still available for sale. There's a video, a couple videos back, called "Do You Want a Partition Hard Drive?" Excuse me, UK Guinness professional drinkers. Hey, I visited Ireland and spent some time in Dublin and had some directly out of from the what do they call it there? It was the storehouse. They call it the Guinness storehouse. And it was fantastic. And I can say that in the United States, if you want to get some good Guinness for your house, buy the cans that have the nitrogen ball in them. Because when you pop them open, it releases all the nitrogen. It is a much closer flavor to the real thing compared to like a bottle. Hey, Alex. How are you? I think I got some stuff shipping out to you tomorrow morning, Alex. And a few people. I think my wife has like a big old pile of things to ship out tomorrow. Anyways, diagnostic programming software. Let's talk about programming software. That's what the video is going to be about. I wanted to kind of give you guys some thoughts on that, talk about that for a minute, and then of course, you know how it is, kick over to the Patreon side where we have a intense discussion about it, and I answer some really specific questions for a little while. So I get a lot. So I was selling the hard drives, and a lot of the guys that were buying the hard drives were asking, and I've still got some hard drives to sell that are partitioned out 4 ways. They're asking what software can they put together, and that is a fantastic question. And at first I was like, oh, we're going to get to that in the class that they're in, but some of these guys just got the hard drives. They'd like to get them going. So I can tell you that I've had really, really good luck, So I'm going to tell you what I do real quick, and then I'll tell you what I know also works. But I want you guys to keep in mind that with all these different softwares, if they update something tomorrow, what I say may not be true. So for instance, the older like 3.0.1 something Honda HDS, if you put it with anything that had Ford in it, or Mazda, even the MMP or the FMP, and now it's FJDS, and Mazda has MSDFA or something crazy. I can't remember what the acronym is. If you put one of those with the older HDS, you'd get a testman error and it'd freak out. Now you can have IHDS with Honda FJDS, but I'm not going to recommend that because they're both Bosch based. I would be hesitant to do that because there could easily be some shared DLL or other library files that would have the same name but internally be written differently, and they could be almost in the same directory. So my concern would be that you would install IHDS and you install Mazda, MMP on the same drive, and today it might be fine, and then tomorrow or in a week, let's say they don't even change the software. Let's say you go in to flash another module and it has to access a different library file, and that's where the problem is. So you may not notice a conflict immediately when installing it and opening both softwares, separately, of course. Never try to open like 2 diagnostic softwares on the same drive. It wouldn't matter. You wouldn't need to be doing that. Anyways, you may not get a conflict during installation or during running either one, just opening them and communicating. but maybe during a flash it accesses a specific library file. So that being said, even what I say may have some stipulations to it. So my thought currently on my laptop, which is right here, I'm currently setting up my European stuff. My laptop that's right here, which is kind of almost identical to the one hard drives that I sold, except for there was no software installed on those. There was no like diagnostic software or JBox software installed, just set up correctly and then close the door. And sorry, my kids. There was no diagnostic software set up, just clean Windows install, settings set correctly. I left the Windows firewall on. A lot of the software you'll want to turn it off. I left it on for now. And I think I installed Shopforeman Pro, which is for free on Bosch's website, and TeamViewer, which is free. Pico software is on there, stuff like that, and my library, a little small library of waveforms. I'm working on organizing all the rest of mine and then making those available to everyone that purchased a hard drive. And all the patrons, really. So, currently, how my laptop is set up is I have a domestic, which is General Motors and Chrysler partition. Now, I have two separate laptops set up that are kind of... Originally, I had them clone drives, and now I'm trying a new setup to clean one up because I've been using one laptop quite a bit, and I'm starting to notice some glitchiness and some slowness. It's because I've been surfing the web and stuff with it, having to send out invoices with it since my laptop broke, and I've got a new laptop coming. So anyways, I started setting up one of these another drive slightly differently. So currently the drive that I use, the computer that I use with the hard drive every single day is partitioned 4 ways. I have one that is labeled Asian and GM, so I actually have Toyota TechStream, Honda IHDS with the J2534 rewrite and special rewrite for the steering modules. TechStream also has calibration update wizard with it. Nissan Nurse, Hyundai and Kia J2534 applications, Subaru Select Monitor 3 and 4. GM, I have on that same hard drive or that same partition, GM GDS2, Tech to Win, and I use SPS flashing all on the one hard drive. And I think that is everything that's on that drive or that partition. Those all work currently for me with my J-Box, both the Bosch Green Box and with the Cardac Plus 3, work all together on that one drive, one partition with no problems. Now, I have a second drive, which I kind of labeled European, and there is BMW Ista, there is Volkswagen Otis, VCDS, Volvo Vita, and I had the original YTech 1.0 software installed on that drive. Now that one doesn't get used very often. European one's kind of at the bottom of the list. I also have one that is labeled domestic, but it's actually just Ford and Chrysler, and it is Ford FJDS and Chrysler's J2534 application. Oh, sorry, I have my Mazda MMP on the European drive as well, just because I wanted it separate from the Honda and the Ford. But I have, on the domestic one, there's really just Chrysler and Ford FJDS. Can use external drive, external drive. I think what you're asking is if you can use an external drive. Depending upon your operating, let me rephrase this. Depending upon how the operating system was installed and which Intel chipset for the processor that you're using, there are some BIOS settings that are normally standard that will disable the ability to boot from an external USB depending upon the style of connector you're using. So if you're using like a direct powered SATA connector or a bay top, like a something that allows you to input SATA 2.5 drive into it that is externally powered, usually that will let you boot an operating system from there. And a lot of the other ones will still let you boot from there, but you can't install the OS from there. So now that I've kind of already installed the OS for you, that may work, but I know that I've ran into problems because there's settings for IEEE USB booting one. So like they make some adapters that plug into a SATA 2.5 or 3.5 and then go directly to a USB 2.0 or 3.0. And you can plug those in, and they will boot the drive up, and you can use it as like a thumb drive or a pocket drive. Let me grab this. I'll show you. So I have one of these. This is a GODO's. This is an eBay special. This was like $11. This has 2 screws and a small printed adapter board that goes to a USB mini, not a micro. And basically there is a 2.5 SATA 750 gigabyte HDD hard disk drive inside of here. So it's really just a hard drive that was originally in a laptop. And then it goes to a USB cable, so I can use this as a jump drive. I use this as a 750 gigabyte just jump drive. It's where I have a lot of just software and files stored. I also have a cable that will plug into it and go straight to a USB. So essentially very similar to this, but a slightly different process. But either way, since the hard drive is powered through the USB, there are a lot of times that they will not let you install an OS from like a CD to this. And sometimes booting it depends upon your Intel chipset version, your settings, that kind of stuff. Drew's asked, do you do EEPROM? I'm getting into EEPROM stuff, so I am not the most knowledgeable individual to answer really any questions for you yet. I am a total noob at EEPROM. I'm gonna get into it, but I don't know how much I'll be able to contribute on here to that. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll have to see how far I get into it and what I do with it. That's right. Man, how did you get so smart? I'm not smart. I am not smart. I have an affinity to retain knowledge. So all this stuff that I'm telling you, I've read and learned and kind of acquired over experience of just doing it and learning the hard way. And then a lot of it I've read. So, anytime any trainers or anyone tells you that they've taught you, that they're teaching you something they came up with their own, that's really hard for me to believe, because almost everything that we teach or we learn out there is come from somebody else. But my main strength is I can retain knowledge. So if I read it, I don't ever forget it. I kind of can remember all the fantastic little details of it, so it helps. Experience is a big one too. Looking for classes myself. I want to learn EEPROM. EEPROM classes are hard to find because most of the guys that are doing that kind of thing keep it to themselves. So that's just that. So that's kind of one of the things. That's how my laptop's set up now. Currently, I am testing the ability to. I have plenty of people that tell me it's fine to use GM, Tech to Win, GDS2, SPS, along with Chrysler's J2534 reflash software, and Ford's FJDS. So I'm going to test that before I say that it's a go. So this other laptop I'm putting together is going to kind of be domestic, Asian, other Asian stuff, and so on, in a European drive. And when other Asian, I mean that's going to be my drive I'll use to separate some of the Mazda stuff from the Ford, from the Honda kind of thing. That's the big one. Bosch had their hands in the production of if you've ever used HDS, you'll notice it's a lot like IDS, Ford IDS. So Ford IDS and FJDS, which are based off the same software, Honda HDS, IHDS, Mazda MMP, and even STD, Jaguar Land Rover are all kind of Bosch original production. Like the original hardware and the software was all Bosch. So because they had their hands in that, they may have used a lot of the same DLL or library file, whatever you want to call them, and not just those, some initialization files and application data and stuff on the back end may use the same named files in two different things. The price for yearly membership for Otis is pretty steep. You also have to purchase separate access to Audi and VW. How many programs do you actually need to do before it gets worth the investment? You have to do more programming than what it's really worth. It's almost not worth it to have Volkswagen Audi stuff. I'm on the fence about even continuing to pay for any of that. Bosch ADS 625, I want it now. Bert says. DeFazio has a 625, I believe, or has played with one. Thanks, Solid. This is my Christmas hat. Merry Christmas, eh? You can get me a white robe and a big old RV pooper tube carried around. Keith DeFazio, I think, has a 625 or access to one, or has been playing with one, so I'm gonna hit him up for how he feels about that. I know he likes it. I know it's a good tool. I don't think I'll buy one. They're like $5,000, I think, is the MSRP, or pretty close to $4,500 or something like that. It does come with their ADS 625 pass through the wireless communication device for that 625 scan tool is a J2534 device. Otis just came out with a 1-week subscription for $110, correct. Still, you have to have your 2 weeks. Still have to have your 2 week. It was almost 2 weeks, the application process between filling it out and getting access to Otis. Yes, Bert, Rocco got a 325, but I think Keith had access to a 625. RV Pooper. You like that? Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of what the conversation is going to be like today over on Patreon, is about software. I'm going to answer some questions for some guys because they want, those of you that are patrons, I'm sure have some questions for what kind of softwares you can put together, what you want for yourself. So I'm going to walk you guys through those kind of individually, figure out what you're trying to get done, and see what I can do. So. But that's the advertisement. But you'll see, it's over here on this side. I'm sure you guys can see on the edge there. Have my J2534. That's the front slide of my class. There's my logo for the company, and then the join Patreon, join the community thing. That's all there because my little advertisement. So and the screen resolution I'm using makes the picture that big, so I had to put stuff over there. Can the Diagun 4 help with programming a used ABS module to fix a VIN mismatch code? Mario, I hope you are asking that because you watched my video. But yes, I had a 2000 and... Is it the other side? I feel dumb. You're right. It is the other side. I promise it was only one beer. The TV gives it away. Should have just used that. I'm looking at the screen, and then the camera's facing this way. Calm down. It'll be okay. No. Yes, Mario. I did do that video. I did a video with a 2008 Mazda Tribute. A shop asked me to come out and write the VIN, because of VIN mismatch code, to the ABS module, because they replaced it with a used unit. So the Diagun 4 was able to perform the PMI process. Perform the PMI process. So they had physically already installed and plugged in the old one and set the ABS light for a VIN mismatch. They called me and said, "Hey, can you come program the VIN?" That was kind of a question that required more answering, and he didn't have the time to talk. So I kind of drove out there, jumped in the car. If you guys go back and watch the video, I did a video on it just cut like last week or something. And Brian come to the window. He's like, $150? Because before I had written VINs for him on Chryslers for much cheaper. So he didn't realize that it was a different process. But yes, the Diagun 4 did perform a PMI, programmable module installation. I plugged in their old module electrically, started the PMI process. It said to switch the modules. I unplugged it, then plugged in the new/used module from another vehicle they installed, and pressed go, and it pushed the as-built data and VIN data and configuration into the used module, and everything was copacetic after a code clear. So yes, the Diagun 4 will perform a programmable module installation on a 2008 Mazda Tribute, and I can say at least it did it the 1 time for me successfully. I've had 3 other successful PMI attempts with the Diagun and no unsuccessful ones so far. Have I ever ran into issues programming a Saab ECM? Yes. Every time I do a Saab, it's an uphill battle in a snowstorm. How much do I charge when it's easier like that? Josh, it depends upon the customer and how much business they give me. Usually a programming event is a programming event, no matter what I do. It's one of those situations where if I'm able to use a tool like that, it's a tool that I have invested and done the research on, so the cost is usually about the same. But I did cut Brian a deal. Brian's one of my best customers. I think I did that for Brian for like $80. What if the old module is bad and has no communication? Then you're going to have to do a as-built data from the network, or a lot of Mazdas, the as-built data is not available listed on the scan tool, so you've got to go through and send a request for as-built data, wait a couple days, come back. It's a crap storm. It sucks. Saab ECM, those are getting hard to find. Yeah, Saab in general are getting hard to find, let alone an ACM. But yeah, Mario, if the old module does not communicate, it becomes kind of a problem. If it's an ABS module, a lot of times the as-built data is not available for you. But guys, I'm late for this stuff over here. I got to jump over to the Patreon side and chat with those guys. So if you would like to join in the conversation, you can go to www.patreon.com/Keith Perkins. And I got a couple tiers over there. Basically, you've got to get on the Diagnostician tier or higher to get access to the weekly videos and chats and the one-on-one. And with that, you also get tech support help, and depending upon how high a tier you go. Mike Flack, if you're out there watching, I'm seeing your messages. I was going to get to you as soon as I got done here. No problem. My buddy Mike sending me a message. So, yeah, we're going to go over there to patreon.com. Anything higher than diagnostician level, the next level's up. Or I think someone had just recently got onto I only had 5 spots open for the master diagnostician level at an intro price of like $50 a month or something, and that's unlimited tech support basically up to like 6 or 7 a week. Really, I'm pretty lenient on what I let happen. I mean, I'm not sticking hard to these things, but yeah, basically the more you pay, the more availability to tech support you get, and you get access to more content and a bigger, nicer swag pack when you join on. But I'm heading over there. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you got a little tidbit information, and I hope I teased you enough into coming to join the community over at Patreon, because that's supporting me, which helps me do stuff like this and make content so I can keep providing free content to everybody and superior content to those of you that help support me. So thank you guys. Remember, subscribe, hit the bell, get all the cool stuff, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, Merry Christmas.